Well, good morning, everyone. I hope your day has started off well. We have a special video for you, one that you guys ask about all the time. That's right, it's a 911 video, so stay tuned. So a couple weeks ago, we had a lady bring in her Mercedes-Benz and have us put an amp in it. No big deal, we do it all the time, right? It's just an amp install. You guys have seen plenty of them on here. What we didn't know at the time is that she was testing us because she wanted to see if all car stereo places did stuff the same way. I mean, it's fair enough, right? And the reason why is they've been going to one of our local car stereo shops for years and years and years. And that's where the reason for testing us came from. Because her son had dreamed of getting a car stereo. Brand new driver, brand new car, this one right here. He saved up for a stereo. So we've all been there before. You know, we were all, some of you might be there right now, where it's like you go to work and the only thing you can think about is making that extra couple $100 so that you could get a new toy for your car stereo, new set of speakers, new power wire, whatever. You know what I mean. You all have been there. That's what this guy did. He saved up a couple grand, wanted a stereo put in. Took it to the place that his parents have been going to for years, but we're kind of, because they'd had some work done there and they were like, I don't know. So they had the car done anyways, and it was a mistake. At the time they didn't know, but it turned out to be a mistake. And the reason why is because there was issues. Driver's front speaker over here, turn on and off, some kind of noise. They didn't know how to fix it. The amplifier stalled where they didn't want it. Things were done to the car that weren't on the quote. Really weird stuff. So they of course took it back and they kind of like blew them off and, you know, had the car and like, yeah, we don't know. No one wanted to work on it because apparently the guy that originally put it in, he was off that day, and the way they get paid is from, you know, the cars they do. That installer didn't work on your car. He doesn't want to service it because he didn't get paid to put it in the first place, which not the customer's fault. I mean, really? That's anyways, we don't need to get into the business side of this. Back to the mom. The mom had a brand new Mercedes. It's a lease. We had it in this show and we put an amp in it. No big deal. And when she popped the trunk and saw the amp, she immediately knew that there was something different about us and the way we do things, because they, over the years, had never had anything put in that way. And I'm not patting myself on the back, it's just how we do things. It doesn't matter, you've seen this enough to know that it doesn't matter if it's this or that, they all get the same. A couple days later, car pulls into the parking lot, and I'm like, Mercedes is back, and another car pulls next to it. I notice it's not the mom driving it, it's the dad. And the mom is driving this car right here, and she's like, listen, tells me this story that I've just told you. So here we are, the car is here. Now the whole purpose of 911 videos were never to call out any particular place, and we're not going to do that here because that's not for us. That's, you know, whatever. But to show things that were done either poorly, silly, lazy, what were you thinking? And there's plenty of them in this car, but we're gonna point those out to you. Now keep in mind, I'm not making fun of anybody in doing this, and there again, some of this stuff might be totally acceptable. It's just not the way we do it. All right, enough of me talking, because I know you guys just love that. Let's get into this car. First thing we have to do is, of course, tear everything out, check everything. Now, anytime you start one of these disassemblies, the first thing you wanna do is pull the power wire. What was wrong with this bolt right here? That's all I gotta say is, really? This? And where? Wow. I mean, it would have been fine if like you were following maybe this wire, but no, this is what we got here. The other thing too, just a tip, this stuff right here, don't run your wire near any form of liquid container. If your wire is to melt or get hot, this stuff is really, really flammable. Bye-bye car, bye-bye. Run it under it, go around it, just don't set your power wire on one of these containers. Amplifier's mounted at the back of the seat, which in itself isn't a terrible thing, but see these screw holes right here? This is where the amp wasn't mounted originally. And when it was mounted there, the seat would only come down like this far. They took it back, they asked him, could you move the amplifier someplace other than on the seat? They're like, no, so they just unscrewed it, moved it down 2 inches so the seat would go flat. But now the problem is the wire hit this area here, so it's just getting crunched inside of this. Then we'll take a look here at the rear deck. Hi, Fernando. Hi. These weren't even in the original quote. The original quote for them called for 4-door speakers. This Cruze has speakers here, speakers there. And that was all they wanted to replace. But when they picked up the car, it came with these guys here. And they're like, what the heck are those? Well, there's 2-inch drywall or 3-inch drywall screws just screwed all the way down into the metal to hold these things in place. Not only that, but the speakers are mounted from underneath. They literally just took these speakers and screwed them up into here instead of using the GM
premium mounts that they make. They could have used a spacer, they could have done anything. So what's happening is the surround is actually getting crushed by the metal. And you can see that when you look through here. It's like the surround is just being destroyed by the metal. What were they thinking? I mean, why would... I mean, it's a Pioneer TSD speaker, so I mean, it's not like it's a $79 or, it's a good speaker. And regardless of the price, I mean, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. We need to get this radio out because we have to figure out what's going on behind there. For all you guys that are Pioneer fans, some of you are, anytime you buy a Pioneer amplifier and it has a bass knob, you have to use their bass knob. And by that, I mean, you don't actually have to use it, but you have to plug it in. The reason why is the bass EQ in the amplifier is controlled via that bass knob. Without it, you get almost no bass out of this thing. Guess what's missing? The bass knob. Now the complaint that people have about the Pioneer bass knob is that the bass knob isn't a level control. It's a level control slash bass boost. So it doesn't take you to the 0 point. You know, you can't turn it all the way down. But still, anyone that sells these products should know that the bass knob controls the amplifier's bass sound. And without it, the amp just sounds like garbage. Now what they did do is they use this guy here. This is the high level to low level, you know, the LP72R. This is the bass knob from that. I'm hoping there's more than just a 2-channel high level to low level behind this radio. And once we get this out, we'll know. The anticipation is just killing me. Radio's out, LP72R, and hopefully go into the subs. This is a 4-channel. This might be why that 1 channel isn't working right. You notice they're kind of beat up a bit. I don't know what's going on there yet. All right, so check this out. They used blue butt connectors for the input and the output side. And if I was to guess, the reason why they did that is so if you ever wanted to take this stuff out, they could just snip these and connect these back together. Hey, look at that. They actually make a T-harness for this car. All right, so I guess we'll be soldering the factory harness back together.
They didn't take the back deck.
They didn't take it out. They just probably cut the hole. But I don't understand. They could have just put the speaker through the hole and screwed it down. What we're getting at is, go ahead. The speaker actually fits perfect in there. I mean, it's like in there nice and tight. It isn't oval like I was suspecting, which would be the reason why they mounted from beneath. Even still, they could have, you can just do this.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had the hole. I don't know what they were thinking.
Probably they didn't ever think of it. That's why.
Let's check in on Fernando and see how the rear deck is coming along. So starting in the trunk, you can see the speakers are mounted the way they're supposed to be now, from the top down. Went ahead and soldered in the speakers, taped up our wires. We ran the wire on the inside of the trunk lid, not on the outside, zip tied to this bar right here. So this is the Stinger Ultimate. It adds the extra foam layer to it along with all the other sound deadening. And this is really dead. These are the Stinger new Roadkill fast rings. We went ahead and put those on. So the rear deck looks sexy. Good job. All right, so now we need to do is get the top in, and then we can check one thing off our list. So here's the plan for the rear deck. We're gonna take some speaker grills here. These are Rockford grills. Gone ahead and sanded down the logo. We're gonna cover these in black grill cloth. Then we're going to reattach them here. To do that, we're gonna take this template here and route our 2 ABS spacers out so that we can put these underneath, and that way we have actually something to drill into instead of just relying on this chintzy cardboard. All right, so the rear deck is done. This is what we came up with to try to fix it so that it didn't look like just 2 ugly grills on the rear deck. All right, so we just got the rear door off. You know, we want to get everything off the car and figure out what's going on. This is funny. That, my friends, is a factory speaker. This was supposed to have all new speakers.
That's why when you go to a shop, ask for the boxes. Always get everything that you've had taken out back and the empty boxes for the new stuff. Throw them away when you get home, that's perfectly fine, but at least you'll have some inclination that the product was put in your car. But get all the old speakers. If you had 6 speakers put in, make sure you get 6 speakers back. And if they can't give you 6 speakers back, ask them why. And if they say something like, oh, I had to cut it out or whatever, at the beginning of the install, say, hey, listen, if you have to do anything where you can't give me the old product back, take pictures of it in my car so that you can show me when I'm done that you actually did the work. It's sad, but hey man, you're paying for this stuff. All right, so this goes back to my point. This is the front door, so it's got some kind of speaker in it. We don't know what it is yet, but they cut the factory speaker apart and put a new speaker in it. Now, so if you ever wanted to go back to factory, if this was a lease, that's not happening. What is it? Oh, it's a JL C1. Okay, so we have JL C1s in the front, Pioneer TSDs in the back, and factory in the rear door. All right, let's get the A-pillars off. So we do have the JL tweeters up in the dash. All right, go ahead and cut this. So we have the front speakers, we have some JL audio. These guys here, the C1s, I don't know how good these are, we don't sell JLs. All right, so we're done taking everything out of the car. We know where we stand now. All the wire's gone, all the equipment's out, except for the 2 doors over there. We're not really concerned with those. We just needed to see what was in there and assume that the other doors would be the same. I know, assumption, whatever. Now what we need to do is we're gonna call the customer because we need to get some speakers for the rear doors. I'm thinking we'll just go with another set of TSDs for the rear doors. I know that's a lot of rear speakers. It's either that or I'll recommend we just don't hook them up at all. I'm gonna talk to the customer about that. I'll let you know what we decide there. Now what we have to do, now that we have everything out of the car, we're gonna regroup and we're gonna figure out how we're, now we can actually treat it like a normal install where we have to figure out where we're going to place everything. This is of course the 9605 Pioneer amplifier. They don't want it on the seat. Plain and simple, so we have to find someplace else for it, not on the seat. The other thing we have is this guy right here, the audio control, LCQ1. This is gonna be our high level to low level. This is gonna allow us to have some equalization so we can actually tune the system as well as help out the subwoofer because it has AccuBass, which is designed to help bass roll off. As you turn up the volume, this will boost back in where it drops off. So you have a nice slope on the subwoofer output. It's not rolling off as you turn up the volume. We're going to do fast rings on the speakers we are putting in so that we can maximize the output potential. Obviously, we're going to put the right adapters on the front doors. Yeah, is that about it?
Yes. Look.
Oh wow, what is that?
That's the second one for whatever they did in the phones. Probably for the tweeters.
Do we need to just cut these and add
I'm gonna cut it from here and add it all the way here. Because
we'll add a piece of green and a piece of black.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what we want to take the spare tire out, we're going to put the amplifier in here, we're going to dynamite everything, and then plexiglass.
All right, so here's the plan. We are gonna leave the rear speakers out. We're just gonna put them back together and be done with that. No rear speakers in the rear doors. The rear speakers are more than enough sound from the back. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mount the sub amp. We're gonna make a panel. The sub amp is gonna get mounted right here. The LCQ1 is gonna get mounted right above it like this. It won't fit underneath the seat because this is just too big, and the way they design these seats is just funky. So this is how this is gonna sit. So for the harness, what we're gonna use is the Car AV 1223-1, and this is the factory match. Now what these are that we're buying is for Bluetooth kits. This company makes these so you can put in aftermarket Bluetooth. Now there's a couple things we need to do to make this work for what we want, and that is of course cutting out these harnesses here because we don't need these. And on one end you have the output to the high level to low level, and on the other end you can tap in your speaker wires if you're not running new speaker wire. Now what we have to do is these black and yellow, we need to reattach these. We have to solder these together. Once we've done that, then we have a perfect loop through harness with the speaker wires on the outside. Alright, so we have the harness all set and ready to go now. This makes a lot more sense, as you can see. This is going to be the signal wire that's going to go to the LCQ1, and then these are just for the front. The rears are actually running wire too because we need to. There was no wiring there to begin with. This is kind of funny. You have these little slide-on things that are designed to go over the ends here, but they, for one, didn't take it off, but then they covered it in heat shrink. So I'm curious as to see what's underneath this heat shrink. And pretty much just as I expected. If you don't have a 4-gauge crimper, that's understandable, but then at least solder the thing on. This looks like they just took a set of these guys right here. That's exactly what they did. They went ahead and crimped it with a set of these guys. These aren't made to crimp 4-gauge wire. You could do it, I suppose. It's a prime example right here, but so what we want to do is come up with a panel design that's going to hold all this. And what we're going to use for this is we're going to use 1/2" Centra, which is the blown PVC that we use to mount all this. So let's head over to the saw and cut some Centra. Alright, so this is the plan. The amplifier is going to get mounted here. Needs to be off the floor just a little bit because of the carpet and the floor mat that he has. And then the LCQ1 is going to get mounted up here so that the RCAs can come down around and plug into the amp. The high level will go into this, and then all the wires will run towards the front of the car. Now we just need to get this stuff mounted and start the fun process of running the wires. It's done. We have everything mounted. Everything's going to be going this way. This is the sub wire that's going to go out here. We have both our power and ground, our signal wires here. All we got to do is go get it into the car. Alright, so we have the roadkill on the door, we have the fast rings on, we have the right spacers put in place instead of using the factory mounts. So this guy is all set and ready to go. Fernando's getting the last tweeter put back in place up there. Went ahead and put in some quick disconnects so that we can get to it if we need to. And of course I'm finishing up this, just trying to get all my wires taped up and secure. And we have our rear wires here that we're going to connect up, and then we have to ground it and get this stuff going forward. So we have the wire coming out of the hole that they drilled that they didn't have sealed, so we went ahead and sealed the hole. It's routed up underneath. It is attached into the mounting here. Comes up around. Fuse holder is mounted, it's just not zip tied into this. Staying all away from all this flammable equipment right here, and it's attached here to the actual battery post as opposed to over here by this fuse. All right, the time has finally come. It's time to tune it, do a little pre-tune, the whole 9 yards. We got the dash back together, hot damn. Time is ticking by rather fastly. Let's just get to it. So what we want to do first is figure out where this radio clip's at. We're playing 1000 hertz right now. Let's see what's going on. Turn it down, keep going. It's all the way up. It's all the way up? All right. It's all the way up, and we don't have a red light on 40 hertz, so that's good. And we're also clear on 1000 hertz. Well, that's good. So This is the signal coming from the radio, and this is the signal coming out before we start the EQ process, just to give you the idea of what we're looking at. It's basically identical. And if you're wondering why the voltage is different, this is set at a different voltage reading here to keep the graph down lower. So if you're ever doing an LCQ1, we've talked about this before when we put it in the F-150, is if you don't get any readings, like if you're twisting it and you don't hear any difference, it's this guy here. This is the bass knob for it. This is also the EQ on and off. For some reason, they've been shipping off. They're aware of it and they're trying to fix it. So if you're playing with it, you're like, I don't hear any difference. That's why. And then all you have to do is unplug it. So if you don't actually need to buy it, if you can go to a shop that has one, you just plug it in, hit the button, and you're done, and it'll never reset it. You won't have to deal with it anymore. All right, so as you can see, we got rid of most of, there's still a little area right here, but that's a limitation of this EQ. But for the most part, we've gotten it flattened out. That's not meaning that it's gonna sound great. That just means we've removed any of the garbage that's in there. Now we need to move on to the rear channel. The rear channel is way messed up. So as you can see, there's a huge dip here. So we're gonna have to go crazy on this one. So as you can see, just by a little bit of adjustment, we've gone ahead and smoothed that out a lot. And it's just a hair. There's not a ton of adjustment. These are just minute adjustments here. Now we want to move on to the subwoofer. Do me a favor, go up front to the volume and let's go ahead and roll it down some. I want to see if we can see any substantial loss. All right, turn it back up. It looks like there's almost no bass roll off. It's moving linear with all the other frequencies. We'll just use the AccuBass as a bass boost at this point. Not that we really need it, so we're gonna turn it down just a hair because the amplifier has its own bass boost, so there's no reason for us to go crazy with it. But we've gone ahead and flattened out the bass response just like we did on the highs. Now what we're gonna do is turn the volume down, and we're gonna do the fun part. We're actually gonna listen to it and then make some final adjustments at that point. So go ahead and turn the volume down for me, Fernando. I'm gonna make an adjustment. You give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. All right, let me bring in the rear. All right, guys, so it doesn't matter how many cool tools you have to do the install. If you do need them though, make sure you go to d&fttooldrawer.com. Shameless plug. Anyways, at the end of the day, as we said it time and time again, you have to sit in the car and you have to use your ears. So, I mean, we used all the RTAs that we have. We used the SMD DD1, and that gets us really, really, really close to where we need to be so that when we're done, little tweak here, little tweak there, and you're all set. You know, this sounds, for what it is, this sounds really, really good. But yeah, so that's it. So this Rescue 911 is definitely rescued, as they say. Yeah. And I don't know who they are, but I'm saying it. Hope this guy likes it. He's gonna pick it up tomorrow. We're done for the night. You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later. Bye.
Holy.